by James here on No Huddle. James, how we doing this week?
I am happy that I was not the one giving $15,000 payouts for my wife.
Look, Jeremy Pruitt will not coach again,
and that's a good thing.
You better hope you better be glad the NCAA is dead at this point.
Yes,
because otherwise, everything Josh Heupel is building right now goes.
Well, no. We did the Missouri thing, and however, we are luckily not Missouri, so we have a little bit more clout than Missouri. So we probably would have gotten away with a little bit more because we did pretty much the same thing, and we probably dry snitched us enough to get us out of that. But
I think we're like 34 days.
We are 6 weeks away.
34 days from week 0. Does that sound about right?
6 weeks away, starting yesterday.
So as of yesterday, okay. So that does sound right. I'm ready. Before we start, I'd say that this week is our Big 12. But before we start out, I want to prayers up for John Minchie, former Alabama receiver, current Houston Texan rookie. Came out today. He was diagnosed with leukemia. They think he's going to be able. He's not going to play this year. They're going to get it treated, and he should recover and should be able to play. So just prayers up for John Minchie. It kind of sucks because if you think about it, he tore his ACL in the SEC championship last year. So he was coming off that, and then for this, just prayers up for John Minchie because he's been through a lot these last. That was in December, so 9 months.
And also, he has to still deal with the dreaded rookie dinner in the NFL circles, which is totally not hazing.
And plus, he got drafted to the Texans.
Hey. Anthony Hopkins made a great career down there in Houston. That's
but he also had a quarterback.
Yeah. Well, that gives him another year to recover so they can actually draft a quarterback.
James, we're doing the Big 12 this week, which is a lot less vanilla than the Big 10 was last week. So I'm pretty excited.
This has a lot more flavor to it. This has a little bit more spice.
This had some salt and pepper where last week was a little bland. Preseason top 25. You got Oklahoma State at 9, Oklahoma at 10, Baylor 12, and everybody's favorite, Texas is back at 25. Do you have any problems with where anybody is ranked?
Oklahoma.
I'm glad you went there because I was going to say Oklahoma. I think Baylor's ranked too low. Did we forget that Baylor beat Oklahoma State and Ole Miss to end the year last year? Did we forget that?
Did we forget that they won the Fiesta Bowl?
Exactly. Did we forget that they might have played the greatest Big 12 championship game ever?
Yes. It was a great Big 12 championship game. They freaking completely dominated their Fiesta Bowl game.
And a potential Cincinnati loss from the playoffs.
Exactly.
So I think everybody's sleeping on, and we love Dave Aranda around here. We are pro Dave Aranda.
You don't like his facial expression or his sideline demeanor.
He shows who you can't tell if they're winning, if they're being blown out, or if they are blowing somebody out because his demeanor doesn't change.
Which has more facial expressions, the Stonewall Jackson Memorial or Dave Aranda on the sideline?
The Stonewall Jackson Memorial. Thank you for asking. Thanks for playing, James. But I think Baylor's being disrespected. I feel like when the AP poll comes out, they're going to be a little higher ranked. But for me, 12 is just a little too low.
It's the preseason, so I truly, you know what? They're just trying to get clicks at this moment.
Look, we just
I don't trust it
at this point, okay? And I'm for it. I'm all for it.
When I'm watching CFL and European football highlights, I'm getting bad. All right, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
The itch over there.
Yeah. The I need my fix. Okay, I need to main vein that right now. I need to do the Barney. The hook into my veins.
We're there, man. We're there. We have 3 teams this year with new head coaches in the Big 12. Brent Venables at Oklahoma. You have Sonny Dykes came from SMU to go to TCU. His father coached there. And then you also had Joey McGuire come from the Baylor staff over to Texas Tech. We're going to talk about Oklahoma by itself, so I'm not going to ask you about Brent Venables right now. Who do you think to have the better year? Joey McGuire at Texas Tech or Sonny Dykes at TCU?
I think Sonny Dykes, just because of his offense is so good. And that what I've seen him do in multiple stops.
We watched it at Cal. We watched it at SMU. It might take a year or two.
Yeah, and what he did at Cal was honestly, I think he got a bad rap because Berkeley literally sucks.
Right.
I mean, they're the ones like where like we might hear rumors about the Pac-12 dissolving, and I'm just going like, Cal might just stop playing football.
Right. I'm with you. Like I said, we've seen it may not be this year, but I feel like TCU is in a better place to have a better season. But we know that Sonny Dykes, in the long run, is going to make the best of where he's at.
Yes, and it's not a hate on Joey McGuire. I'm really just hoping that it's Texas Tech. It's a really hard place unless you're some crazy guy who can talk about
Pirates,
Netflix specials, and what's the use of a tie at SEC
okay,
Media
you know
Day.
what? Since we brought him up, and I absolutely lost this. Who else, not named Mike Leach, gets asked about Netflix recommendations at media days?
I was so excited when he came back for SEC Media Days because SEC Media Days, and I know we're not talking about them at the moment, but it is the best 3-ring circus ever. Coaches getting deposed, there's literal, just crazy fandom going on. And then you just have Mike Leach coming in there and talking about God knows. I think he talked about bear attacks. He's just one of those guys that just we know he's smart, but he's his wavelength's a lot different than the average human. There, yeah, his frequencies are a little off.
I'm trying to find. I saw this very interesting thing, which definitely made me start. I saw a graphic of it was words by coaches, and you had like the top coach. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Clark Lee. By the way, if you didn't watch his,
no, that's completely psychotic.
I recommend watching that. But his speech was like 3,000 words, and I'm sitting here watching it, and my girlfriend's like, "Wow, he's talking a lot," and she knows nothing about football. Like she doesn't watch football like that.
Yeah.
And then you got Mike Leach come up, and he said, "All right, any questions?" So Clark Leach said like 3,000 words before they started asking questions, and Mike Leach said 7. And because Greg Sankey said, I heard that Mike Leach has good Netflix recommendations, then the people in the media thought, oh, let's ask Mike Leach about his Netflix. And then he came out and said, well, I haven't been on top of it lately. It's more of like an in-season thing. So I do expect at some of his press conferences this year to get Netflix recommendations, and I might be watching.
Anything Netflix will always remind me of The Last Chance U and Coach Jason Brown breaking film inside of a hot tub while smoking a stogie and talking massive amounts of crap about his players.
Man,
it is the best. Jason Brown deserves another gig. I don't care what he said.
There are a bunch of coaches who deserve another gig that may not get one.
No. And he's
one of them is Big 12 related, but I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to.
Well, he was in Kansas, so yeah.
Huh?
He was in Kansas. Independent
is in Kansas. The one I'm not getting on the hype train for. We'll just pass on that one. Yeah. James, what are your expectations for Brett Venables?
I see a lot of similarities with him and Kirby Smart.
Okay.
Not and please do not take this as a negative, Oklahoma fans or Brett Venables fans. I think he's a wonderful defensive coordinator. I just think there is a lot of growing pains that happen between becoming the defensive coordinator of a university and being the head guy. There is plenty of stories of great coordinators being terrible head coaches.
I'm glad you mentioned
Jeremy Pruitt.
And that was kind of, that was going to kind of be my next question was, should we shift expectations for Oklahoma? Because when Kirby Smart took over Georgia was they go 9-3, 10-3 that year before?
They did. And then they went 7-5.
Then they went to like 7-5. So my question was going to be, should we shift expectations and not expect Oklahoma to have a 10-win season or a 9-win season?
I think it's unfair to him. I truly believe it's unfair.
Because that's how you drag your coaches out.
As you that's like booted. Okay, fine. And you're tired of me talking over you. I got it.
I'm just want to do this by myself. Because I feel like that's how you get your coaches run out of town quickly.
Yes. And it's no hate on Dylan Gabriel. I think he's a wonderful quarterback. And their team that they got surviving. I know they lost a lot because Lincoln Riley kind of poached their star players, but I think their defense is going to improve enough that their offense can take a slight dip.
That's
and they're going to be okay.
And not necessarily just Oklahoma, but the Big 12 in general. That's always kind of been their downfall is they don't ever play defense. So. And we're starting to see like Dan Lanning at Oregon landed the top quarterback, the top running back, and like a top interior lineman. So we're starting to see these defensive head coaches go get guys like that. So I'm interested to see how many steps back the offense takes before it starts to take off.
Well, that's going to happen. Obviously, it's not been a big care for him, and it all comes down to. Hold on, let me get the name of their offensive coordinator. Jeff Lebby.
Jeff Lebby.
Who's a good.
He was the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss last year.
Yes, he was. And also, Ted Roof's not a bad defensive coordinator as well. So
that's why I liked the Jeff Lebby hire, because he is, I don't know if a proven offensive coordinator is correct, but Brett Venables didn't go get a first-year OC.
No, he definitely got a guy who.
And that's what I liked and he went and got from a Lane Kiffin tree.
Yeah.
So that he can coach offense. So I absolutely loved the hire of Jeff Lebby.
Well, and I have to be a little cautious because hopefully he could get out of the way enough, because we've also seen defensive coordinators think they know what they're doing with offense. And I, of course, have seen this firsthand being a Tennessee fan. They get in the way of an offensive coordinator doing his job.
I like this. I like that you went there, because I feel like with defensive head coaches, they try to put the offense in parameters of what our defense does best. Let them go score. If they're going to score, let them, you got to let the reins go.
You got, especially in the Big 12, let's be honest. The defenses have never been the best in the world.
Yes,
you're going to have to put points
about the Big 12, because in less than 3 years, Oklahoma's going to be in the SEC.
Yes,
and they hope to still have Venables to be the head coach.
Oh, absolutely, and I see this as a great transition, because he'll be ready for when they start playing SEC games.
Absolutely,
because it will be different. Because I hate to break this, and this is going to hurt Oklahoma fans a lot. You're about to be in a world of pain.
Absolutely. Look at what Missouri kind of lucked into being, on the downside. But look at what A&M went through. Like, look at the transition that these teams went through moving over to the SEC.
I mean, it took them having a Heisman Trophy winner to have any success at Texas A&M. It took having who knew that he was going to be a future head coach at offense coordinator in Missouri.
Right.
When they had Josh Heupel.
Absolutely.
They came in.
And they had Drew Lock. Well, they had Taj Boyd. Then they had Taj Boyd transferred. Then they had Drew Lock.
Exactly.
So they happened to hit on a quarterback and was able to go 7-5, 8-4.
And they also had the number one recruit wide receiver.
Doriel Green Beckham.
Yes, Green Beckham coming in. And so you had all this talent.
You had this.
Yes. Well, unfortunately.
I see something about something about, and this kind of relates into the Big 12. So I'll go on my tangent. It's fine. Who was one player you wish could have stayed out of their own way? Justin Blackman.
Oh God, yes.
He was a killer at Oklahoma State.
I thought he was better than Des Bryant.
I agree. I 100% am behind that. But if he could have stayed out of his own way, that dude was electric.
Oh yeah, there's always been great offensive talent in this league. It's
absolutely,
and I feel bad because everyone goes, oh, the defenses are bad. They also have to deal with some absolute killer offenses.
Absolutely.
Say what you want about Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy could coach some offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pete Patterson could have done it. You also had freaking Vince Young and everything running around in Texas.
Yeah,
you had
Oklahoma doing Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree at Texas Tech.
Yeah, you had that. You had Cliff Kingsbury doing his thing at Texas Tech after Mike Leach left. Right. Then you had, then you also had whatever was going on at Texas. You had whatever was going on at Oklahoma, because you had Bob Stoops going from offensive coordinator from Mangino to Heupel to it just was over and over and over. Great offensive coordinators.
And then you throw in
and then you got Matt Campbell up in Iowa State. You also got Kansas State.
Well, and then I was going to say, then you played Bill Snyder, and they just ran the ball down their throat the whole game.
Yes, because you're in freaking 10 degrees because you're in Manhattan, Kansas.
And then Kansas is whatever Kansas is.
Yeah, hey, Kansas was playing good. Remember 2007 Kansas.
I'm going to let you take the hot take later.
Okay.
That we talked about, and I think we're going to put some people on there. You know what? Circling back around, everybody's favorite team is back again this year.
Again?
Is back
first off, first question: who's more back always? Is it Tennessee or Texas? I mean, there's a lot of correlations here. Because if it wasn't for Tennessee, Texas is still North Mexico. All the jokes are still the same. Okay, so which team is always perpetually more back? The next year Tennessee, or hey Texas, we back?
Texas is back every year. Texas is back every year until they're not. I don't care about the week 1 game. Texas is a 14.5-point dog against Alabama. Do you expect them to be competitive?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And it's nothing against Texas.
And this is a home game, by the way.
This is a home game.
For Texas.
I don't care if this is on the freaking far side of the moon. Alabama is going to kill them. Not because I don't think Texas is good. I don't think Steve Sarkisian is a bad coach. I just see this Alabama team wrecking face, and I feel bad because I feel bad for the Texas quarterback because he's about to get owned by Will Anderson multiple times. That defense is coming for blood. And that's where I say like the 14 points. Alabama's going to put up points, and I believe that defense is going to stop Texas just because
Well, the one thing we know about Sark is he's going to put wrinkles in. He's going to make that defense work. I can see this being a game where Texas puts up a lot of yards, but they mean nothing.
Well, yeah, because that's what's going to happen with them. I mean,
I would not be surprised if this game is over to see Texas have 450 yards and like 21 points.
No, I don't see it. I just don't. I don't see. Once again, we're going back to wish somebody would have gave Nick Saban a hug because I feel like, especially with
somebody needs to give a hug to is Will Anderson because he got robbed from the damn Heisman last year.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, he did so much, even though having Matt, freaking To'o as his linebacking partner. So, I mean, Texas might be able to put up enough points if they put in a lot of slant routes over the middle linebacker spot. Quick slants.
What effect will this game have on Texas for the rest of the season?
And I think this is where last year's Texas game, this would have completely crushed them. But looking at their schedule and seeing it be not the hardest at the beginning of the year, you're gonna get killed by Alabama. Sark goes in there and just goes, "Hey guys, try your best. This is gonna be the number 1 team in the country with a bullet. It's gonna be the toughest game you play all year." Just say that. This is going to be the toughest game. And then, you take your lumps because their next biggest game after that is almost a month later and you're playing West Virginia coming to Texas. Right. And then you got Red River. So you don't leave Texas until Oklahoma State in October 22nd.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be the difference.
Texas. Yeah.
You're in the state of Texas until that time. And then, yes, is the Oklahoma State game going to be tough? Absolutely. But, I think their schedule is wide enough that they could survive that.
I agree with you. Only because of what Bo Davis did last year. When he blew up on that bus, that was the turning point. You and I played sports growing up. That was the reality.
Oh, yeah.
You got your you-know-what shootout, and it was okay. So I'm with you on there. I don't think it's going to be a negative effect, even if Alabama goes in there and blows them out 55-3.
Yeah, which I see that happening more than them scoring 21 points.
Like I said, I just don't think that's going to, because and I hate to be I don't like to use, but the weak-minded players are probably no longer there.
Well, I mean, it's not just weak-minded. I think it takes it to play high. I mean, to go back to Dave Hawkins, this is Division I football. If you don't like it, go play something else. I mean, and to tell them that, hey, you know what? It's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder.
I'm going to be interested because Bijan Robinson comes back, probably the number 1 rated running back for in college football this year. Xavier Worthy's a sophomore this year. They brought in, what's the guy's name? Isaiah Naylor. No. Yeah, Isaiah Naylor from Wyoming.
Yes, they did. Thanks, Texas.
Transferred.
Huh?
Who's the Alabama receiver that transferred in?
Oh, you're talking about Aji
yes.
Asia, yeah.
Hall. Ajayi Hall. And then I think it's tight end transferred over from Alabama as well. Anyways, so I do think they're going to be better. I do think this is going to be a competitive game through the half. And then I think that's
I wouldn't go that far, but I feel like if Texas could score some points, I think that'll give them a lot of hope coming into the rest of the year. Because once again, that's going to be the worst defense they see all year.
They can't start the way they started Oklahoma and finish the game the same way. If they start the way they finished against Oklahoma, they have got to keep up with that. And I don't even know if they'll get to do that. James, our favorite game that is on the schedule this year, the Backyard Brawl.
Yes.
And did you really watch a No Huddle podcast if the Backyard Brawl wasn't mentioned? That is collectively one of our non-conference games to watch. I'm so excited to have the Backyard Brawl back.
And guess who's going there this year? Guess who's going? Game day. Game day, I think, is going to also be at Purdue Penn State to open the year, and then that's on Thursday, and then be in Pittsburgh on Saturday. Which I'm still going to call it Heinz Field, okay? We're going to quote Coming to America. Their mama named it Heinz Field. I'm going to call it Heinz Field.
I don't really care what you call it. I just want to see a good game.
Yeah. I just think of all the games coming to that new field there the first few weeks. You got the Backyard Brawl, and then Tennessee comes to town the week after that, and then the NFL starts. Those yins are going to be great.
Poorly named field.
Oh, yeah.
James, what's the first game you're watching? The first non-conference game you're watching?
First non-con for the Big 12 is going to be easy. That's Baylor versus BYU in Provo.
Future conference game, Baylor BYU.
Yes, future conference game.
Because BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston all join the Big 12 next year, which could be a 14-team league if Texas and Oklahoma don't leave early.
Which
that's a 10-15 game. We talked about your terrible time to be deployed to work.
Well, yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, Mia Khalifa said it right. Being in the military sometimes worse than OnlyFans, and
OnlyFans reference in a college football show. I was not ready,
and doing it PG, by the way.
I was not ready for that. James, I got Missouri comes to Kansas State. I think Kansas State could be a dark horse for the Big 12 title. Adrian Martinez transferred over from Nebraska for his 705th year of college football. The only person who's been in college longer than him is Sean Clifford at Penn State, who's 706th year. That's not why I think Kansas State's a good team. Deuce Vaughn is their running back. We're going to ride that train.
Yep.
I do expect Kansas State to have about 8 wins this year. So I do think that's
more than me because I don't trust Adrian Martinez with anything. He is the Jarrett Garantano of the Midwest.
I trust Chris Kleiman. That's who I trust.
I agree with that, and I agree that they're gonna run
I
the
trust
football.
Chris Kleiman to put Adrian Martinez in a better position than I trust Scott Frost to put Adrian Martinez in a better position.
That's a lot of faith there, man. That's a court. He's a coach killer if I've ever seen one.
What's your second game you're watching, man?
Oh, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, because we're going back to West Virginia, baby. And it's going to be West Virginia versus Virginia Tech, an old Big East showdown. If anyone hasn't seen this, I might have a soft spot for the Hokies.
Yeah.
I've always, for some reason, I guess because they're close, and I feel like they should be in the SEC, just like the other Virginia school. I think that's going to be great. They're going,
College football is more entertaining. I feel like when Virginia Tech is relevant.
Yes.
Because then you get to see their atmosphere, which might be one of the best home field advantages ever.
And you get to see this at Lane Stadium. Hopefully it's at night. Hold on, let me see if they have it at night yet. Oh yeah, it's a night game.
Yep, there you go.
It's a night game at Lane Stadium in October.
Brett Pryce, what, third game?
What was that again?
Is that Brett Pryce third game as head coach there?
Yes. It's gonna be his fourth game technically, but yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna have 3 games before it. But still, the Enter Sandman, the keys, the freaking giant turkey legs, them being just completely out of their mind. It's
gonna be a good watch. That's for sure.
Yeah. I enjoy watching Virginia Tech and West Virginia play football. I hate when they split conferences, with their separate ways. Same thing with the backyard brawl. It's got a little sweet spot there for me.
The team, and I teased it last week. Love watching these teams. We just might be watching them in the wrong sport. Duke goes to Kansas. I'm going to touch on a couple of things, and then James, I'm going to let you blurt out what you and I discussed. I love the Lance Leipold hire last year. He won, 6 national titles at the Division III level. They beat Texas last year. They lost 2 of their last 3, but the last 2 they lost, one was by 3, one was by 6. So they built on some things last year. Sophomore running back, sophomore quarterback. They returned 17. They were a top 10 transfer portal team. James, give us our hot take for the day, man.
They are going to win. I think they're going to win more than 4 games. They're projected to go 4-8. I think they win 5. They might go to a bowl game this year. I think they're going to go to a bowl game.
I don't have them going to a bowl game.
I know you don't.
I see them winning 4.
You see them winning 4. I think they're going to a bowl game because they beat
Tennessee Tech.
They beat Tennessee Tech.
I think they can beat Duke.
They beat Duke.
I think they can beat Iowa State.
I think they're going to beat Iowa State. I think they're going to beat TCU, and I think they're going to beat Texas Tech. And then it's going to come down to Kansas State versus Kansas the last week of the season. Now, they do have to go to Manhattan, but if they could either beat Kansas State or Houston, they're going bowling. And you know what, Lance Leipold, he was a great coach at Buffalo. When he went there, he resurrected that program when it was completely irrelevant after Turner Gill left. And he's slowly turning Kansas into a productive program. And yes, they have a lot of returning starters, and they have to play. And the great thing about the Big 12, you have to play all those rookie head coaches. So you have to play
turning Kansas into a productive member of the football society.
Yes, which we never thought would happen. I mean,
no. James, what is your conference game you're watching this year, man?
Easy. And this is because I think this is going to come down to a conference spot for a conference title spot. That's Baylor versus at Texas. Last week of the season, conference championship on the line. I know the guys from Waco hate those guys from Austin. And I just see that being the spot because I think Oklahoma State's going to kind of run with the number 1 spot. And this is going to be the fight for number 3.
James.
Or 2 and 3.
Is Dave Aranda our favorite coach in the Big 12?
Personality-wise, he's not. However, he just gets results.
That's at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses.
Absolutely. You know what? He coaches defense so well that I think that's what makes it a breath of fresh air in the Big 12.
Yes. And Gary Bohannon transferred from Baylor. But I can't think what the guy's name is. We'll
go back to our handy dandy notebook.
Our handy dandy notebook. What is his name? Anyways, the quarterback.
Are you talking about Blake Shapen?
Yes, thank you. Blake Shapen is going to be the full-time starter this year, and I feel like he's going to give that offense another dynamic because he can run the ball, but he also has a strong arm as well. So my conference game I'm watching, shocker, involves West Virginia. Oklahoma goes into Morgantown to play West Virginia. I do think that West Virginia could be a dark horse to go to the Big 12 championship game.
Okay.
They have, speaking of our old friend Graham Harrell. Graham Harrell is their offensive coordinator, and JT Daniels has a cannon. For anybody that doesn't know,
I have heard this.
I have seen it. I think you might have seen it once because that's all he's ever played at Georgia. James, who's in your conference title game?
Well, you're making a very compelling thing about West Virginia, and the biggest thing for West Virginia that makes me a little bit bullish on them is not JT Daniels. It's that they returned their entire offensive line. But with that being said,
don't do it, James.
With that being said,
don't do it, James.
Chalk gonna chalk, and we're gonna see a rematch, and it's gonna be Oklahoma State versus Baylor. But I think
as much as I've been on the West Virginia bandwagon,
yes,
I have the exact same matchup.
Which means one thing: West Virginia is going to be the Big 12 champion.
No, I also have Baylor and Oklahoma State in the conference title game.
I have Oklahoma State winning though this year.
I have Baylor winning.
I only say it because
I repeat as conference champions.
Because I don't think I'm actually the opposite. I don't think the offense is going to be as good as it was last year.
It doesn't matter. You've got to score on Baylor. Baylor doesn't have to play Baylor's defense.
This is true, but I mean, Oklahoma State can put points up on almost anybody.
Except for they didn't last year. Let's see. And 2 matchups last year. Let's see. Big Ten, we did that last week. And 2 matchups last year. They put up 24 and 16.
Listen. That was a different Baylor team. That
what
was
does our friend Josh Pate say? Paper pop?
Yep.
But you know I'm serious.
Oh, yep.
But you know I'm serious.
Shout out to producer Jamie showing up tonight on the show.
We have a producer. I need to get in touch with him.
No. Josh Pate's producer Jamie, the magical mystery that he was. I mean, the only thing that I say is that Baylor doesn't return a lot on offense, and they did lose a few people on defense. So they did lose Petrie, and they lost Bernard. So I'm a little bit.
And what does Dave Aranda do? Coach defense.
Look, it's okay. Hey, I'm trying here. Okay.
Look. Don't make me take my Desmond Ritter hill here. Okay. I'll have to tell you about that later. All right, man. Next week we are doing. What are we doing next week?
Well, it's either I mean, we've literally gone through all the conferences except for the dead conference and the best conference.
James, you know what we were supposed to do this week along with the Big 12?
What?
Notre Dame.
Listen.
Be looking out for a Notre Dame episode to be tagged along with another conference. Next week, we will have the Fun Belt and the MACtion with some G5 teams.
Oh, so thank God. Yes. Thank baby Jesus. Because I did not want to talk Pac-12. I really didn't.
Well, we're not. Next week is G5.
Thank God.
Next week is G5. So, look out for that next week.
That's going to be so much fun because I mean we get to talk mullets, we get to talk freaking MACtion. We're talking Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night games.
For our fondness of MACtion and the Fun Belt, that might be a 3-hour show, and we cover 2 conferences. All right, guys.
Oh yeah, because we're going to cover every single team because we love every single team like a fine-tooth comb. Except for Ball State.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in this week. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and pretty soon we can start hating people for the right reasons.
You mean snaps of football?
Yeah.
What? I mean, fall practice better start soon because like I'm starting to get into cold shakes. Okay.
Look, man, it'll be okay. We'll see you guys next week.